So institutional investors essentially play these big trends that I was mentioning before. So what they do is when the economy starts to reverse and go up, it's when they start to buy, and pretty much when no one's buying and people are just too scared of buying any investments in any place. And then when it stops to go up, pretty much everyone's buying is when institutional investors are selling. So the news also play a role in which the news all around the world tend to motivate people to invest when the cycle is already very prosper in terms of uptrend and shouldn't take too long to actually reverse. So news actually convince people to start to invest, and that's when institutional investors are waiting on the background so people can come to buy so they can actually sell. Because remember, it's necessary for them to sell that there's people buying. So in a way, this works like a pyramid scheme because a lot of people are saying this is true, but it's no different from any work you may be taking. Because if you are an employee on a company, or even if you work for yourself, you have a pyramid structure in which you're working on the same way. The difference is when you're working for someone, essentially you're providing to the company you're working more cash than what they pay you. And here you only get money if you're buying low and selling high to simplify everything. But again, even if people misplay the cycles, as long as you wait and you can also average down, which means you can buy more when the stock price is actually low, over the course of the next cycle, you will almost be renting to make money as long as investments are on a good place in terms of the companies that you're bought in. But again, I mentioned this before, and for people that don't really understand how this whole system works, the best way to apply is to just allocate their money to investment funds because they know what to do and they know how the game is played. It's essentially the best process because most people, without having all the background that is required to actually get a good understanding around this, you can always be hearing the news and you can be easily tricked into buying a specific day because they're telling you to buy and then sell when they are just telling you to sell. um, like for me and for most people that are on this space for a relative long period of time, we do understand that when they're just spreading news to make people sell on companies, even what they come up with, like the arguments that they're saying to make people sell, if you understand actually the space, you do know that it's totally nonsense. You can even understand this by hearing what they say. Probably you hear like years ago they could be mentioning companies that were on a bad spot, as they call, and today they're so much higher. If you just go to the graphic of those companies that just grew over time, you would understand it's pretty much an uptrend from the initial point when the company started to trade publicly till today. It's just a straight up line to the upside. So again, all of this is a game that is played to trick people. because the ones that are just benefiting of the system is pretty much the people that do understand how everything works, and they're not really listening to the media. Another thing that is very usually triggered on people is news when there's threat of some companies to go bankrupt or some governments. You can hear from time to time they're saying like some specific country can just go bankrupt because their economy is on a mess. Usually countries have their own currency. So even, for example, what happened with Russia on the war, they just made their currency to go down in value drastically when the war started. But remember that in that country they have a printer of their own currency. So even if their money that they use there just falls off a cliff, imagine yourself having a printer and your money now is only worth 25% of what it was, which is a huge difference. But if you have the printer in your side and you're actually allowed to print as much money as you may need and want, it really doesn't make any difference for you. So this is what happens. The people that are actually got screwed on the system are the population, but the ones that are just on position of controlling the system, they never fall because they have unlimited currency that they can print. And again, this is forbidden and you can go to jail if you do this on individual level. But for the ones that rule the countries, as long as the country has their own currency, they can just keep printing unlimited amount of money. The money can just drastically go down in value, but they have unlimited prints on their side to just keep going that way. So it really doesn't matter for them the value of the currency. So it's technically impossible for a country to go bankrupt as long as they can print unlimited amount of money. And again, this is something that pretty much everyone is aware. That's why you may see that a lot of news that are played out, they're speaking about certain situations. In companies, they can effectively go bankrupt, and they do. But about the countries, this is the reality.